Welcome to Two Main Friends. We're your hosts,
Natasha,
and Lindsey.
grab your coffee and come sit with us for a bit.
What is the unspoken rule you always end up playing in a group chat setting? Are you the planner, the ghoster, the meme sender, or the therapist?
That's so hard because oh, I think I end up unintentionally being the planner because I feel like I end up being the one that starts the group chat to say, let's all communicate about this here
Yeah.
and get everybody in the chat and then get everybody talking. But after that's already started, I don't know where I fall in that.
That's fair. So the planner, I think that's fair, the planner. Yeah.
I think it also depends on who is in the group chat.
I was going to say, I think that definitely depends.
Like, when it's my family, like my mom and my sisters or something like that, I immediately am the one to be like, "Okay, let's all figure this out here. Here's the
Mhm.
group chat, what's the plan?" But if it's like friends or well, I don't know who else I'd start a group chat with other than my friends and my sisters. So, um, I don't know. I feel
Mhm.
like see, meme sender to me feels hard because I can be that person, but generally I usually wait to get the vibe of what's happening in the group chat first because some people are not about them and some people are like hardcore. Everything requires a meme.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you?
I am the ghoster. I am terrible. Okay, when I'm texting one-on-one, as it is, I am A, really bad to initiate the texting one-on-one, and B, I'm really bad at responding to text messages. I just walk away, or they come up on my watch and I look at them and then I forget about them. And so then I move on. So in a group chat, I'm even worse though, because I see other people respond. I'm like, oh, I don't need to respond because other people already responded to that person. Even if it's like, I could still respond and be like, haha, that's funny because it is funny, but I just don't. I just move on, like, oh, okay. Like, that's fun.
See, my husband does that sometimes, except he's notorious for not responding to messages at all. And that stresses me out. Like if I ever see his phone, um, I am notorious for going and he's like, "Don't do that. I have a system." I'm like, How is 395 unread text messages a system?" And he's like, "It makes sense to me." And I'm like, "I don't understand any of that." Like, if there's a little red dot on my message text message icon, that stresses me out. Like, there needs to not be any bubble there.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So do you have your notifications turned on for things like Messenger on Facebook?
Messenger, yes, not for notifications from the app.
So same. But for Messenger, I also have that turned off. And that is where I ghost people the most, is because I don't have it turned on. Same with Instagram. If people are messaging me on there, I don't have it turned on.
Yeah, I don't have it turned on for Instagram either.
Yeah.
And every time I go into the messages, they're like at the bottom when it says, "Do you want to turn on notifications for this?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I can't."
And then I don't like to see the red, so then I clear out my text messages and then I forget to go back to them. So I'm the problem. It's
Well,
me.
now that we've discovered how to, we'll stage an intervention so we can help you respond to the all of the people who are wondering what you think about the things that they've sent you.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I upset someone the other day and I didn't mean to, and they know that I didn't mean to, but I've gotten in a really bad habit of reading stuff because I want to be a responder. But maybe I should go back to full ghost mode because I just hit the thumbs up emoji and people don't like that. So I have to be careful.
Yeah, I'm not sure which is better there, but
They
I
straight
guess
up asked, "Are you being passive?" And I wasn't. I just was in a hurry and I just thumbs up them. So I'm learning.
and this is why miscommunication and drama starts when you are in a group chat with a bunch of friends.
Yes, absolutely, which is exactly what we're talking about today.
Group chats and all the things that go with it.
Yes, but they can amplify miscommunication, and I know that you don't watch this show, but maybe some of our listeners watch. So when I read that, I thought immediately of I'm a reality TV show junkie,
Okay.
and my one of my current favorite shows is Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Now, this is a group of women who are all from the Mormon culture, but they became kind of famous on TikTok and then they got their own show. So they have a group chat, and the communication that they have showed on the show with the group chat and women getting angry and angsty and just like leaving the group chat, and then there's a separate group chat because that person left the group chat, and they're like, oh, Whitney left the group chat, and it becomes this huge thing, and it's usually just because someone did not communicate clearly or show up clearly for the person.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can understand that. Also,
Yeah.
why is it weird when people leave group chats?
I think that if they don't express why they're leaving the group chat, it leaves that question mark, right? Like, well, what did we do to tick you off? And I think that leaving is a silent message. And if you aren't explaining what you're doing, the people that are still a part of it, they can't hear the tone in which you left, right? Like, you might have just left because you have a ton of group chats going on. I was a part of someone that I used to associate with. She had a group chat for, like, everything, not just, like, and it was all the same people sometimes, it would be, like, the same 4 of us and maybe one other person and a couple of them would be different, but it would be, like, 4th of July, and then it would be, my bridal shower, and then it was this, like, everything had a
A
thing.
separate and I get that because, like, again, being in ministry, like, a lot of times with the ministry groups that I'm a part of, for, like, nursery volunteers and different volunteers, like, there's a group chat for all of them, and then, like, you get the group chat for a birthday party, and
Mhm.
then all of a sudden everyone's leaving the group, and, like,
Yeah,
that's the part that I'm like, "Wait, what's happening? D Are you not coming to the party? Like, what?" And, like, those are the moments that I'm like, "I don't understand." Like, I get that, like, if you're a part of a group chat for everything, my husband's famous for that, like, we have group chats with so many different sets of people, and I'm like, it overwhelms me, but he likes that, and so we just have all these different threads going. But for things like birthday parties and stuff, like, I don't feel like it's weird to leave that chat, right? Because if you
right,
can't make it, you don't want 700 notifications of everyone asking all the questions.
right,
Makes sense. But when
right,
it's a little bit more personal and someone's leaving a group chat, it does feel weird. And
right,
sometimes I've even done it. I'm like, oh, like I feel that like
yeah.
twinge of, oh no, what's going on?
Yeah, no, it does, and I think it's just the misunderstanding, right? Like, we don't get why, and they don't say it, so then, like, our mind just starts to race with all these thoughts, like, "Did I do something wrong? Are they upset with us? Did someone in the group chat say something wrong?" And then you start getting and sometimes it escalates, right? Because then you start having side conversations when you see the people that are still in the group chat, you run into each other at the store, and you're like, "Well, Whitney left the group chat. Do you know why? No, I don't know why. Well, she probably hates us, like whatever.
Right.
You just start like amplifying this story that never really existed at all. Maybe Whitney accidentally left the group chat because she was leaving all the birthday party group chats and yours just fell in line with that. Like,
Yeah, and I do think that group chats can also just be a breeding ground for miscommunication because we can't hear someone's tone and then
mhm,
we assume the tone, and if our tone is incorrect and we're reading it as Whitney's angry, but
mhm,
really she was not, then that can create a whole bunch of misinformation because we can't get all the information through reading someone's message.
mhm,
And then there's all of the implied stuff, right? Like dot 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 after a sentence could mean something to me, but mean something completely different to you. I take that to mean like and so on, or like it just kind of keeps going, but maybe that means something snarky to somebody else.
you're
I don't know.
unimpressed. That's what I always
Right.
you're very unimpressed.
Right.
Sure, That's the
Yes.
one. Oh, okay.
And,
Cool.
like, isn't it wild how our culture has had to adapt to this new way of communication with the influx of, like, text messages and now Facebook messages, and then you've got DMs, and you've got all of these different places to communicate with people, and you have to kind of read between the lines sometimes or understand what people are saying and hope that you're understanding them correctly. And then if you it's a then you add in a group chat, that's just another whole level of stuff.
Eh, yeah, mhm, yeah. No, absolutely. And then, like, you can have internal issues within the group chat, right? So then if somebody does say something snarky, do you call it out in the group chat or do you address it privately with them?
Mm.
And where's that balance?
That's a tough one because I think it would be situational, like, what are you discussing and what is the conversation about? Because sometimes you could probably lightly just play it off and be like, "Wow, that was snarky," and, kind of move on. But I also think that there does have to be a little bit of balance and, like, nuance there because if it is a bigger issue and it's between 2 people and not the whole group, then
Yeah,
remove that from the group chat. That doesn't need to be a whole group conversation, and if you're just going at each other because you're disagreeing, like, maybe pause that conversation and, text them separately and be like, "Hey, we should probably move this to another time." But I don't know, like, that's another hard, nuanced thing to navigate in relationship because private conversations and hard conversations should usually be done within the person. But then again, if you're bringing it to the whole group, you've opened a can of worms. So, like,
yeah.
I
I
don't
just
know.
I had a thought, and this wasn't something that we put in our notes when we collabed on this, but I think that group chat too, like privately versus publicly, you could get into some grounds of gossip a lot of times too, because you're sharing in a group setting and you're saying things, maybe you're sharing some intimate personal things, but maybe you're not as close to everybody in the group chat. Like if you and I were in a group chat with three other people, I can almost guarantee you that I'm closer to you in that group chat than I maybe two other people. I'm thinking of specific,
Sure.
right? Like
Yeah.
people that we're acquainted with. I can guarantee I'm closer to you than I am the other 2 people. So, if I'm sharing something in that group chat that's personal and vulnerable, those other 2 people might be closer than you and I are close and could take that offline and talk about, right? So, we have to be careful not to breed gossip in that, or if one of them shared something, it would be very easy for me to, um put down a boundary or let go of my filter and say something about what that person shared in the group chat offline to you and really like dance into that line of gossip. And I've seen that happen before. And it can be really destructive to a friend group because then if I say something to you about Whitney, who's in the group chat, now I've placed a seed in your head about them that could begin to grow over time. That can cause tension over time in the group of friends. So you really have to be careful about what dynamic you're bringing into that group chat and what dynamic you're taking onto the sidelines in private as well.
And I don't know about you, and maybe this is just one of my insecurities, but when you're in a group chat like that and say not close to every single person in the back of my mind, I do wonder sometimes, well, what else are they saying when we're not in this group chat? And so if you're already feeling insecure about maybe where you stand in the friendship, group chats don't help reinforce good feelings. They're usually not helpful. And
Yeah.
so I think that maybe would just be easier if we keep group chats to planning, right? Like plan the birthday party, plan the get together, but like really, is it necessary to have group chats? Like, I don't know.
And maybe you've had a healthy relationship with it, right? Like, I'm speaking out of experience, and I've never been a part of a group chat that I haven't heard sideline conversations out of. And
Sure.
that's my POV because that has been my reality with them. So if you're listening and you're like, "Well, I've never had that situation." Great. But I
Great.
would challenge you to ask yourself, like, have I taken conversations sideline that I maybe shouldn't have that were stemmed from a group chat?
Right. Because it really does happen really fast. And then you start to have segregation within the people, right? Because
Mhm.
if you and I are talking about something Whitney said, and then like we've had our own little thing, like we could start having like when we're all together, right? Like eye conversations
Mhm.
about something because we've talked about it. They have no idea. And so then again, you're creating rifts and breeding ground for fractures in relationships. And then there isn't like a good solid foundation to
Right.
continue building the relationship, because if it's fractured in some way or another, that can be, I don't know. I don't know. It's
It can
tricky.
be it can be tricky. That was what I was gonna say, and it can be a very fine line to walk, and I'm not saying group chats are bad. For me, I would love to just stay at the planning because I am maybe just not confident enough for that.
Right. And
Uh,
genuinely in my life, I don't think that I've had that many friends at one time that would constitute needing a group chat for something like ongoing outside of
yeah.
planning purposes. And so maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Fair. And I'm a part of 2 group chats right now that I can think of consciously, that I love being a part of, right? Because I know the people and it's only 3 of us and I know our relationship dynamics, right? So, like, it's solidified. And 2 are well, actually, they're all previous coworkers, and one of them is, in both of the group chats, right? So it's me and 2 other people in both of the group chats, and one person is the same dynamic. So I never have to question that dynamic of it. And those are usually just funny. Like, um, one of them, we literally just send Instagram memes and TikTok videos to each other that we think are funny,
Yeah.
whatever. And the other one is a little bit of that and a little bit of just like check-ins. How's your day going? Because one is a former boss of both of us, so she always checks in with us. But yeah, so I think not all group chats are bad, obviously. But I
Right.
think the larger the group chat, the more dynamics can be thrown into that, of course.
And honestly, the only group chat that I currently am a part of like that is I'm in a group chat with my sisters. And that is fine, right? Like, because 9 times out of 10, it's one of my sisters sending us, like, 80 Instagram reels a day, and then I pick and choose which ones I actually watch and see, and then some of my other sisters will, like, add in a TikTok video or, another reel from Facebook or something, and then, sporadically, we end up talking about stuff and life, but they're my sisters, right? And so that's, I feel like, a tiny bit different,
Yeah,
and so, yeah, I get what you're saying though, like, when you know what the relationship is, it makes it a little bit easier, I think,
yeah,
but if you're not super familiar with everyone, or maybe you don't feel secure in the relationship very well, then it can be tricky.
yeah, it can, definitely. And, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but, like, if you're not comfortable in the group chat, leave, but just tell them that you're leaving, like, don't
Peace.
make it weird. Bye.
Just throw up the peace sign and a meme and
Yeah.
exit. Don't do that actually, but
No, don't do that. Don't do that. But there's ways, right? Like, if it's text messages, they're not gonna know that you're not there because they can send it to you regardless. But I'm thinking more like Messenger, right? Because then you can see clearly that somebody left the group chat and it tells you that they left.
sure
And
does.
maybe it's just for sake of scenario, maybe the group chat is toxic and they're talking about people and you just don't
Mm,
want to be a part of that conversation.
right.
Call it out. You're probably gonna lose a little bit of a friendship, or other people might be like, "Oh, they're right," and they might leave too, but somebody has to stand up at some point and say, "This conversation isn't okay," and I am living proof, that that has to happen, right? Like, I didn't do that well, and I lost
Mhm.
friendships because of it, because I didn't leave a group chat, because I engaged in conversations that I shouldn't have engaged in. I have lost friends along the way because of that, because
Yeah.
my name is associated to things that I wish it was never associated with, in conversations that I took part of that I should have never taken part of. I should have left
Mhm.
the group chat. Um, and so I think that that makes you the stronger person. You might feel like the poopy person or like it doesn't
That's
feel
fair.
good for lack of a
Right.
better term. It feels gross. And it feels overwhelming to be that person. But you're better for it, and down the road, they might be better for it too. Um, because the people who, like, did stand up and say this is wrong, like, I respect them more than the people, including myself, that didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And at some point, we have to be willing to be the person, the bigger,
Mhm.
like, I don't want to use the term bigger person, but at least the strong one. to
Mhm.
say, "This isn't okay, guys. Like, I'm not here for that." Or change the conversation or point it out and be like, "Okay, and moving on."
Mhm.
Because we can only be better if we're willing to call out what's not working and what's dysfunctional.
Yeah, I like that you said that the better person, right? Like, you're not you're not, like, high and mighty because you did it, but, like, you are morality-wise, like, doing a good thing, and
Yes,
you are, from a virtue and a value standpoint, like, you're allowing space for somebody else's name not to be dragged through the mud, and we've talked about it before, but we wanna sit at tables that lift up other people, not drag them down.
right. And so if we're in group chats and that's happening, somebody has to be the one to call it out. And if that person is you or me, then we have to be willing to do that.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely be the more respectable person in the group.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it will also show too, like you are a trustworthy person because you're not willing to listen to it. And then hopefully that would call other people to behave in a better way. And or the opposite would happen and they start a side conversation about that. But that's none of your business because if you don't know, you don't it doesn't
Yeah,
affect you, right? And that's if
right.
that's on them. But hopefully it would inspire better things from people when they recognize this isn't coming from a place of judgment. I'm not trying to point a finger. I'm trying to say, guys, let's do better.
Yep. Yeah, I that's such a good point. Like, you probably know people are going to talk about you behind your back if you stand up to them, right? They're probably if you leave the group chat, you're probably the topic of conversation if other people were the topic of conversation. But what is said about you behind closed doors, not your business.
None of
It's
your
just not.
business. Nope.
And I it took me a long time probably to learn that. I am well into my 30s, about to be 40, and I would say that that probably has just come to fruition for me in the past 3 years. Like, it wasn't
Yeah,
and
I would think I would say the same. Like within the last 4 to 5 years, I finally understand like if I cuz I used to drive myself crazy wondering what are people saying? What are they thinking about? What did
Mhm,
they say to this person? What does this person think about this or me or this how I handled the situation? And it hasn't been until the last few years that I'm like it is none of my business. I
mhm,
can't control what they're saying. I can't control what they're doing or
mhm.
who they're talking to. And so I can't spend my time worrying about all of that stuff when at the end of the day, if they've said it, the other people have heard it. They're going to draw their own conclusions, but I can't be responsible for that because that's not like that's the conversation that they're having. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, like it's outside of my control. And so if it's outside of my control, I can't do anything about it. So I can't worry about it. So it's
Yeah.
none of my business.
Exactly, and if their words have impact on other people and how other people perceive you, then those people weren't truly your friends at the end of the day.
That's
And
true.
that I have just had to come to terms with that, I say in the past 3 years, maybe even in the past year, where if things are said to other people about me and that person that it was said to chooses to accept it and never come to me and address it with me or talk to me about it, and now they have this impending thought about me and what I'm doing with my life or whatever the situation was, that's on them because they didn't come to me, and that's not my business. And we all have perspectives and we all have thoughts and we're entitled to those things, but it doesn't change my character. And for the longest time I used to be like, oh, well, then maybe that is who I am. Why is that who I am? Because that's not who
Joe
I am.
Schmo decided to tell somebody a
Right,
story. Yeah.
because we heard from Whitney that Lindsay's doing this, and I'm worried, and I don't approve, and blah, 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 and then Sasha, I don't know, decided to be like, "Yeah, that is a little concerning." Great. I wasn't in the room to defend myself, and that's not my business. Like, you didn't come to me,
Yeah.
because I would happily tell you where I'm at, those kind of things, and so but that's where the group chats can get weird, or any not even a group chat, take it out of the group chat. That's where relationships can get messy.
And living through that experience is where I had to learn that it's not my business because
Mhm,
unfortunately I lived through scenarios where things were said about me to
Mhm.
a lot of people, and I couldn't control how they perceived me after that.
Mhm.
And that was a really hard lesson to learn
Mhm.
because I lived my life and had seen my life for an extended period of time. And that's all that could speak for me at that point. Because when I'm not in the room and I'm not there to say anything, like you said, to defend myself, I had to lean on the fact that the real people who know me know
Mhm.
my character. So if this person is saying something about my character, I can't do anything about that. But
Yeah.
I would hope that the people that know who I am would trust that my character would show through more than what this person has said.
Yeah. Yeah. We are only, as human beings, responsible to live our lives in a way that is respectful. Like, we are only responsible to live our lives the way we live them. And whatever your values are, whatever your morals are, whatever you lean onto for good character, that is what you are responsible to do. You are not responsible for how other people perceive you. You're not responsible for what other people say about you. You're not responsible for how other people judge your values or your morality. That's you. You have to decide that.
Yeah.
And what other people say, can it be of influence? Sure. Can they pour good things into your life? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you're responsible to decide if that's how you want to live your life or not. No one
Right.
else is.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it goes back to we say this all the time, but it really matters who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Because if you're surrounded with people that have good character
Mhm.
and will stick up for you when you're not in the room, right? And
Yeah.
not drag your name through the mud and stand up in a group chat and say, guys, we're not talking about this. This isn't
Yeah.
appropriate. Um, that's why it matters because there will come a day, whether you've experienced it or not, where you'll face a moment where somebody says something about you and how you deal with it, that's on you.
Yeah.
And you can either blow up in the group chat and say all the things, or you can choose to say to not do anything about it because, there's it just matters who you surround yourself with. And at the end
Yeah.
of the day, we're responsible for how we react to those things. And there's a lot to be said about how we respond.
Yeah. It's so true. Just to tie into a little bit of that is, if you're in those group settings with friends, group chat in person, I know we're kind of bunny holing around a little bit here and jumping and going down trails, but there might be tension in the group chat, and that's normal. We're human beings. We're imperfect people living in a very imperfect world.
Mhm.
And we are going to have tension. You and I are going to have tension. It's going to happen. And the best thing that we can do for our friendships, if Natasha comes to me and says, well, Whitney and I just can't see eye to eye, the best thing I can do for Natasha is say, well, then you need to go to Whitney and talk to Whitney about it. I
Yeah,
can't help you with that because that's not my attention. That's not my problem. I can give you
right,
advice. I can tell you to go in and, don't go in with your temper ready to fight. Like, don't do that. I can give you that advice, but I can't tell you, well, you need to tell Whitney this, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. Or, well, Whitney, you're right. Whitney is like this, or Whitney is like that. Like, that's not going to help resolve the
right.
tension. It's just going to
No,
cause more because I'm going to amp you up and be like, yeah, you're right. Like, I'm ready
right.
to
She
put
really did me dirty.
yeah, right, exactly. But like we have we have to just redirect, right? And like always encourage for each other to talk to each other about it and
Mhm,
not just to kind of tie in that whole gossip part, like don't get caught up in the gossip of things and
mhm.
really like try to bring it back together. I've said it before, one of the best leaders I ever had, if she heard somebody talking about somebody else, she immediately said, let's go talk to them. Let's go grab them and let's just hash it out. Or if you said something negative about someone, she says three positive things about that person now. Like
Mhm.
we have to be willing to cut off the source
Yep.
of the tension at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
And I'm so glad you said that because redirecting them back to the person they need to address it with is so important because I can't fix that problem because it's not my problem. So
Mhm.
you coming to me about Whitney is not going to fix anything. You need to go talk to Whitney, right?
Yeah.
And
Poor Whitney.
poor Whitney, she just been thrown under the bus today and run over a few
Yeah,
times.
a few times. Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Whitney. But
Um,
like it's true though. Like at the end of the day, just say, "Go talk to them."
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
No.
that's really all you can do is say, "But did you talk to them about it? Did you tell
Right.
them that that offended you? Did you tell them that made you really upset how they responded?" Because
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, they haven't.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the last one before we wrap up for the today, and I feel like we could talk about this one forever, but is being left on red and not spiraling out, assuming best intent. If you I will be the first one to tell you I don't respond. I'm a ghoster. So just best intent, Lindsay is just flighty. Um, but just ask, like, hey, I noticed you haven't been responding. Is everything okay?
Mhm.
And also, no response could be a response, but that is such a fine line, and you have to know how to walk it because how do you know when to call the difference between best intent and no response is a response? Again, if
Mhm.
I know that Lindsay, me, is really bad at responding to text messages, then I'm going to know, like, okay, no response isn't a response from her. She's just probably
And
looked at it on her watch and moved on.
I have enough people in my life right now that that is the case for them, and I hear them talk about it frequently enough that I know if they haven't responded to my text message in a week or 2 weeks, that's probably just because that's the nature of their life, right? Because
Yeah.
when I see them in person, 9 times out of 10, they're like, "Oh, yeah." And or they'll, like, talk to one of their really good friends and be like, "Oh, I didn't even respond to you this week," right? So then that puts me at ease to know, all right, this isn't like a me problem. This isn't like that they don't wanna talk to me. They're not talking to anybody. And
Yeah.
so, I think that's why going in with assuming best intent is important because sometimes people just don't like the messages. Like, by the time they get home from work, having their phone go off 700 times with messages is too overwhelming, so they don't respond. I get that. It can be overstimulating. So, and when it comes to like no response being a response, I think you have to kind of read between the lines and like, what are you talking about? Like, did you ask them a specific question and they're leaving you unread? Is it relatable in that way, or is it just like a, well,
I agree. You have to use it as a judgment call. And what has the relationship been like in the past 3 months, 6
sure.
months? What does that look like for you? Because for me, the responses that stopped coming didn't stop coming overnight. It was less hangouts, less this, less that, and it started dwindling way before the no response came. So I think you really do have to pay attention to like what did the relationship look like. So I think you have to just decide between is it best intent? Do I know this person and know that they're, busy and maybe aren't going to respond right away? Or has the relationship been changing and maybe no response is a response? But
Mhm.
before you get to the no response is a response, ask the question. Don't just assume. Ask
Mm-mm.
the question. And if you don't get an answer to the question, maybe you have an answer.
Right.
But
Yes.
I think to wrap it up, group dynamics can be so hard, especially whenever you're in a group of friends. And I think obviously we're not males, so we don't know. But female dynamics can be hard because sometimes we lead with our emotions and we lead with our
Mhm.
feelings. And we just have to be very careful in those dynamics that we're cultivating a healthy environment and a healthy group friendship that everybody feels safe and everybody feels respected at the end of the day. And if it doesn't, call it out, call it for what it is. That's a wrap on this episode of Two Main Friends in a Podcast. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. You can also send us an email at twomainfriends@gmail.com. And as always, leave us a review wherever you're listening.